Hi.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm alright, thanks.
Good.
Go ahead and just introduce yourself real quick.
My name is Sarah Spicer. I am the owner and producer and director at Spicer Productions.
Cool. So, you make movies?
I do a lot of different kinds of video. I have done film and television. I've also done documentary, brand videos, promotional videos, music videos. Pretty much anytime I have an excuse to get my hands on a camera and create something really cool for someone, I've been there.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
What's your most recent project?
My most recent project is
One that you can talk about.
touche. I've been in discussion with somebody about a reality series that would be done as a Facebook Live. So that's been kind of cool. However, I can't really say much more than that. I'm in the midst of conceptualizing my docuseries, and it's on the concepts of health and the state of our nation right now with our food and our medicine and us as a society, and how that spills over into the health of our pets as well.
Okay. Do you see yourself at an advantage or disadvantage being a woman in this particular business environment?
You know, it's funny. I've met plenty of women running their own businesses and being entrepreneurs, and I have heard some women say they're at a disadvantage because they're women. I don't think that way. Like, I really don't consciously think I'm at an advantage or disadvantage being a woman. I'm a person in business, and I'm doing what needs to be done to grow my business and move it forward and stand out against my competition.
Recently, Reese Witherspoon has been really pivotal in making a movement, if you will, for women in film and women in business. How are you trying to better your business, but also how are you trying to better women in film?
Well, I'm just trying to be the best. I'm trying to be the best filmmaker and the best business person and the best person I can be. And it's not always graceful. It's not always effective, but it's definitely what I'm trying to do. I think that you said the word pivotal, and I think we're at a very pivotal time in our lifetime right now, and that we are in a state of change. So for women in business, Reese Witherspoon, Sandra Bullock, Julia Roberts, I mean, she's just always made it happen. Drew Barrymore, she has her own production company. All these women, and there are so many more. It's doing a disservice by not mentioning the list of names that are actually out there. But there are so many women who are at the forefront pioneering a more female-centered movement, because females are actually the most powerful demographic as far as buying power goes. So now you're seeing a trend change where people are making more films for women by women because women are buying. Does that make sense?
It does. Mm-hmm. Given the examples that you just provided, like those women in entrepreneurial positions, how do you see yourself fitting in with that demographic?
Deep question. How do I see myself fitting in?
Like what role did you see yourself playing in that business?
Well, I see myself working alongside Sandra Bullock and Julia Roberts and standing on stage holding a golden statue with them. That's a very elite group of women that, in my eyes, are nothing but respectable. They have overcome a lot of obstacles. They have dominated in a male-dominated business, and they have cut the path for themselves the way they want to do it. So I don't know if fitting in's the right term. I don't want to fit in. I want to be me, and I want to leverage my team to be cutting-edge people and climb our way to the top so we can sit with the rest of the elites.
Okay. So servant leadership begins with a natural feeling that one wants to serve first. The conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. Does that feel like, that fits in you with your business?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you elaborate?
Sure. So I see in business, I see a traditional model, which is you work for me, so you answer to me. Okay. I follow a model of how can I grow you? How can I learn from you? And of course, I think any business leader would agree with me that there is an element of you're here to do a job, so I expect you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and I expect you're going to show up in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
There's that. But at the same time, I have those expectations for myself, for my team. So as much as I expect them to show up and be their best and give their best, I expect myself to show up and be my best and give my best for them. It's not one-sided at all.
So from Greenleaf Center of Servant Leadership, I'm going to read you 3 points real quick.
Okay.
Advocating for building consensus and group rather than using coercive leadership. Leaders have a social responsibility for the have-nots, and leaders shift authority to those who are being led. With those characteristics of servant leadership, do you feel like that style of leadership is served a little bit better?
In this industry specifically, I don't know if it's an industry thing. I think it's a person thing. You have to know how to read your person. And that's in any industry. It doesn't matter if you're bartending or if you're filmmaking or if you're a CEO of a financial institution. You have to know your people. You have to read personalities. And you have to cater to those personalities to get the best out of each person for the greater good of everybody. Because they're going to be happier, which means your business is going to have a better reputation. Your customer service is going to be more on point. They're going to be a longer serving employee. And you're creating a healthier culture. You have happier people who are actually excited to come to work and feel respected and valued and validated. I mean, that's an environment everybody wants to work in, and the business will thrive that way.
Okay, so there are 10 characteristics of servant leadership that I'd like to discuss with you. The first one is listening, so acknowledging the viewpoints of followers and validating these perspectives. How do you implement listening in your business?
Listening is the most important, more important than talking. One can gather all the information they need by listening, okay? So, in the film world, there's a joke that if you want to know anything that's going on your set, you go to hair and makeup. Because the people are sitting in the chairs gossiping about everything that's going on, hair and makeup's hearing everything. The person who's always talking can't possibly be retaining and gathering any information. That intel, to use a military word, when you are able to just sit back and listen and observe, is what allows you to understand, to plan, to execute, and to empathize with people.
Okay, that's actually a really interesting note to end on, because the next point is empathy. So standing in the shoes of another person and attempting to see the world from that person's point of view. How does that affect your business, not only from an employer-employee, but from an entity to a customer?
This business is really interesting. Production is interesting because if you don't know how to wear every single hat, I don't think anyone can be successful. So, for instance, as a producer, director, you have to know, okay, as a producer, let's just say producer, I have to know how to talk with my director and get him or her everything he or she needs to be a successful director, and listen to those needs and listen to what he or she is saying that they want, okay? And I have to be able to put myself in the director's role to best serve the project. Similarly, the talent, okay? You have a director personality and you have a talent personality. Those are traditionally opposite ends of the spectrum. So in order to best serve the talent, I have to be able to put myself in their role. In a client relationship, today, for instance, I had a meeting and I was discussing a documentary idea with clients who want to bring about awareness for Down syndrome. So there was so many lines I had to tiptoe today because I couldn't just talk business about, okay, how's an audience going to receive a film about Down syndrome? Because her son has Down syndrome, and I had to be extremely sensitive to her reception of my business perspective of this kind of film. Even though that's a really important part, at the same time, as a mother, and her as a mother, I could easily put myself in her shoes and think about all the other mothers who'd be watching the film and wondering how differently life would be if their child had Down syndrome, or alternatively, if they have the child with Down syndrome, how they're going to feel watching a film about another child with Down syndrome as we advocate for education and awareness about Down syndrome, and how typically developing children and families can be more sensitive to the subject of Down syndrome. So it's very complicated. I'm not sure that explanation really hit it all, but you almost have to be an actor yourself, in my opinion, to be in this role so that you can be empathetic to everybody, take on different characters.
The third point is healing.
Mm-hmm.
In helping followers become whole, servant leaders are themselves healed. So have you experienced that in this business? For example, the one that you did with Hope for Steve.
Mm-hmm.
When you did that project, do you feel like you advocating for ALS awareness helped you become a better person or heal?
I don't think I was a servant leader at that point in my life. I think that a lot of mirrors got held up for a lot of people on the project. And I think that that project helped me heal in a lot of ways. That is the thing in my life, career-wise, I'm most proud of. That's the thing in my life I've worked the hardest on and put literally sweat and tears, and there may even have been a little blood in there somewhere. I put everything into that film, and that was a confidence builder. But I don't know if it healed, and I'm not sure I would call myself a servant leader at that point.
The fourth point is awareness. Understanding oneself and the impact one has on others. So, what's your awareness level when you're typically working on a project?
Now? Oh, hyper aware. Hyper aware. So now, I hate to use the word calculated because I think there's a negative connotation to it. But to some degree, I'm very calculated when I'm on set because I want to make sure that I'm appeasing everybody and making everybody comfortable, especially my clients who are generally in front of the camera or the talent who's in front of the camera. Because if they are in any way feeling uncomfortable, they cannot deliver their best selves on camera. Anybody watching it will feel it.
Okay. Persuasion comes up on number 5. So, creates change through gentle, non-judgmental argument. How do you use persuasion, not just with an employee, but with a client?
Talk it through. Just point blank and just say, a method that has been effective for me has been to just put it out there. Look, no judgment, for instance. Okay, we're having a conversation. Say, look, here's what my mind and my heart are thinking. Here are the visions that are coming into my mind. what do you see? And I try to understand and get a really good scope of their perspective. And if I still don't agree, then I try to help them understand where I'm coming from and give them the why. Why am I thinking this way? Why am I feeling that way? And in my experience, when you can give someone the why, it absolves everything. They're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And we move on, generally.
Okay. Moving into our sixth point, conceptualization is the ability to be a visionary for an organization.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe to me real quick how you apply that to your business?
Being a visionary?
Conceptualization. Yeah.
Conceptualization? My business depends on it. I have to conceptualize films for people. I have to conceptualize stories that will sell, that will impact audiences, that will generate donations, that will succeed at festivals. So conceptualization is everything. And conceptualization is understanding market, business, client, structure, modern technique. It's a big thing.
Okay. Would you say that that's kind of the business in general?
Production, conceptualization. It's a big part of it.
Okay. Foresight is the ability to predict what is coming based on what is occurring in the present and what has happened in the past. How much foresight do you apply to your job?
I am fortunate to be in this business right now where video is so taking over everything. I have nothing but foresight. My job right now, one of my responsibilities is to educate people on utilizing video in their business and help them understand that if they don't, they will be left in the dust. There's more content uploaded to YouTube in 1 month than there was in the entire decade of the 80s uploaded to the 3 major networks, CBS, NBC, ABC combined. That's a mind-blowing statistic. Video, YouTube is the #2 search engine behind Google. Like, that's insane. If you're not using video for your business, you will founder. I promise you, in the next few years. So right now, that's what it's about, is educating people on the power of video, because that is where it's at. And if you're not using it and you don't want to use it, I don't know what to tell you.
Stewardship is carefully managing the people an organization has been given to lead. How does stewardship reflect in your day-to-day interactions with your business?
I don't know. I mean, advocating, I guess, is stewardship, right? Being an advocate for Down syndrome, being an advocate for ALS, being an advocate for gynecological cancer, being an advocate for childhood blood disorders. I mean, nonprofit films, especially those that are medically based, that's where my passion is. That's what I want to do all the time. I think that's being a good steward for those causes, maybe?
Okay.
Is that right?
That sounds good. I mean, that is stewardship toward those causes. Commitment to the growth of people.
Mm-hmm.
Treating each follower as a unique person with intricate value beyond what he or she contributes to the organization. When you're doing a project, how do you commit yourself to the growth of the people that you surround yourself with?
I teach. I teach what I know. And at this point in my career, I've been very blessed to be working with people who are more technically proficient than me. So I'm often mentoring on business, the way I see business, a more modern way of looking at business, like I said earlier, in that you can empower and inspire people and leverage them and their skills in a way that everybody wins, instead of it being a one-sided experience where you're working for me, you're on my clock. So,
lastly, the last point is building community. It allows followers to identify with something greater than themselves that they value. Can you just kind of capture how you build community with your industry?
Social media. Social media is huge, huge. It's, there's a lot of community on social media. And then there's a lot of fans for the projects. You know, whomever is watching these films, they become a member of our community, who's following our social media posts, who's following the posts of those in the films. Community is everything. If you don't have a community, you don't have a business.
Just to kind of hit that one more time, it's allowing followers to identify with something greater than themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a camera guy, a cameraman, working on your project, how do you try to bring him into your community?
I love networking so much. It has served me so well in my career. Even when I started at the Chamber of Commerce and I was writing for a magazine, I was networking my tail off, and that's what got me my job in medical sales. And networking throughout medical sales was what leveraged my growth, where I grew a territory. I inherited it at 26,000. I grew it to $500,000 in 2 years. That was a lot of networking, a lot of building relationships. So networking is everything. Connecting with people is everything. Getting my team connected with others in the industry who are more experienced than them, who can grow them and leverage them. That's how I can think I can best get back to them.
Okay. Now that we've kind of gone over what servant leadership is and the characteristics of that, do you feel that your role as a woman in film and as a sole proprietor or entrepreneur use servant leadership?
Absolutely. I have to. It's a way I'm going to stand out. And especially as a woman, I will say this. You asked earlier if, I don't remember how you phrased the question, but it's like, is it harder because I'm a woman or whatever? And I said, I don't really think about it. I do know, and I also very much want to be a servant leader. And I do know that I have to be, because if I'm not, and any woman's not, I think she's just going to be perceived as a bitch and be written off. Women probably do have to be a lot more cautious and walk very gingerly all the different lines we have to walk, whereas a man can come out the gate and be a jerk, and it's just like, you know, he's just looking out for his business, where a woman can come out the gate looking out for her business and be like, that bitch, I don't want to work with her again. So there's a fine line there. Servant leadership, no matter if you're a man or a woman, no matter what color you are, no matter what industry you're in, I think that's the way everybody wins.
If you had one message that you could pass on to not just, you know, other people in film or other people in business, but specifically women that want to start their own business or that want to get into film, what would that message of inspiration be?
Do it. If your heart's calling you and it's your passion, do it, and don't let anything stop you. There's one life that we get, and there's no reason to be doing anything but what you love.
You should also write for Hallmark. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And hopefully I get an A. Okay. That's it.